Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing our makeup together and talking about some of my recent reads. So if you're interested, just keep watching. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I felt like doing a video outside today because it's absolutely beautiful where I am. I might get hot and move, but probably not because it's really nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. Letting my plants sunbathe out here while I do my makeup and talk about the books I've been reading recently. Idea kind of sparked for me because I've been reading lately a lot of books that are very like thought-provoking, and I've been making a lot more short-term content lately, which I like. I really enjoy TikTok, like just as a consumer, and I enjoy making TikTok videos because I think like short stuff is fun too. Also, if I'm talking weird, I bit the crap out of my tongue last night, and I don't know if you can see it, but I have like a big bruise on the end, so could very well be affecting the way that I talk, so just keep that in mind. But anyways, yeah, I like short form content, but I do feel like there's some books I've read recently that I would like to elaborate more on in YouTube form. So I am not super regular with YouTube content. I just have a very not super regular schedule with my work. I am going to be talking about the makeup I'm using in this video. So I'm using the Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Primer because I need a little bit of moisture. My skin is dry. There's a bee right here. The struggles of doing makeup outside. I'm using the Essence Keep Me Covered foundation. I'm going to mix in some of my Anastasia Liquid Glow highlighter technically, but I like to mix it in with foundation because I think it looks really pretty. So I mixed that on the back of my hand, and now I'm just gonna dot that around. Oh my god, look at her, she is so funny. I'm just gonna dot that around on my skin and rub it in with my sponge. This might be entirely too loud and a terrible idea, so I'm here to share that I have read a lot of really great books recently. The first one that I kind of wanted to talk about is the Children of Time book by Adrian Cheskovsky. I always mess up his name and people try to help me, but that's the best I can do. I'm so sorry. But I am not a huge sci-fi reader normally, but one of my goals for this year was to read more books that I've been gifted because I don't know, I just think it's really sweet when people gift books, especially if it's like a curated recommendation or just one that you've been wanting for a while. So two of these books that I've read recently were books that were gifted to me. Also, by the way, we're going for very natural makeup today. I'm literally just going to work, so I'm not super worried about it. So this book was gifted to me by one of my friends. He had read it. And it is a sci-fi book. It is like dystopian. It's adult sci-fi, which I have even less experience with. By the way, the concealer that I'm going in with is the JCat Beauty Aquassurance concealer. It's one of my favorites. So this one is about, oh my gosh, she's running. You're gonna see her freaking out because she doesn't like when my mirror like reflects. So it is about basically humanity is no more. Like the humans are having to escape Earth. So humans have had to leave. They had to go. See you later. Because there was a lot of stuff going on, like there was like chemical war and like a lot of basically just Earth was uninhabitable at this point, right? So they put a bunch of people in like cryo sleep in this ginormous ship that they plan on living on until they can get to a planet that is habitable. At the same time, there is a like mad scientist lady who has invented this like nanovirus to plant in monkeys that will speed up evolution and allow them to like drop ship the monkeys onto this planet that they can like thrive in, and the mad scientist doctor will be like observing them and they'll like run experiments and things like that. Of course, things don't go quite as planned, and they end up, there's a person who's like rebelling against this happening, and is not on board with the government projects that they're doing. And they sabotage the experiment, causing all of the monkeys to die, and the ship kind of explodes, and the virus does land on the planet, but it infects spiders instead of monkeys. Not super used to sci-fi, but I felt like the science was easy to understand. Like, there's a lot of animal related things. The author has a degree in zoology, so I imagine a lot of this is pretty accurate if it were to actually happen. I'm using the e.l.f. camo liquid blush in the shade Peach Perfect, just to do a little bit of liquid blush. So I'm a big animal lover, so even though I'm not necessarily a fan of spiders, I really like the kind of conversations around like animal sentience and like what that means. How much empathy do creatures have? What would happen if they were more like humans? That kind of thing. So there is a lot of that in this book, which I really, really enjoyed. You flip between perspectives, so the people on the ship, the rest of the humanity, don't know that the experiment, so they just see that the ship explodes. They don't know that the experiment actually is working, and that these spiders are on this planet and like thriving. Like, they have a full society, they have like a matriarchal kind of setup, which is really interesting and kind of introspective on like flip side, the common way that humans were with the patriarchal society. So it's like completely reversed, and it's very interesting to read because I know spiders are like that, right? Like the female spiders are usually a lot bigger than the male ones, etc. I'm just going to powder underneath my eyes and kind of like the spots where I concealed with my CoverGirl powder. It's basically, I was saying, a lot of cool perspectives on society and animals and technology. So you're flipping perspectives between the spiders that are on the what's called like the green planet, and the humans, which are on the ship called the Gilgamesh, and they are still searching for an inhabitable planet. A majority of the humans are in the cryo sleep that I was talking about, and they're just kind of floating around in space looking for somewhere they can go and start like the rest of civilization, essentially. It talks a lot about empathy, and that's something that I find very interesting. Yeah, I would really recommend it, especially sci-fi. I think it's pretty accessible. Some of it is pretty dense, but like it's definitely like it makes sense, honestly, a lot of the science. So, but anyways, yeah, so it's just a really introspective look on like, because the humans try to approach the planet, and basically there's some horror elements too, which I find very interesting, but don't be just like scared if you're not a horror person. Going in with a powder blush, this Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. It's really giving 2016 makeup. And I'm using my Alamar Cosmetics brushes as always, just to go over where I put that liquid blush and just kind of really give more of a pop. The mad scientist that kind of created the nanovirus has lived somehow, but she's kind of like half alive because of this like AI that is keeping her in and out of the cryo sleep, being taken over kind of by this AI. And so the kind of internal thoughts are interesting, the interaction between her and the AI. You get a little bit of that perspective because the humans are trying to contact her, and a lot of time is passing, so you go through like generations. And the spider perspectives are so interesting because you just see like how their essentially whole like existence changes and evolves over time, and the way that they interact with one another and the way that they learn to become like a civilization. Also, side note, if you're a fan of the Civilization games, I think you would really like this because it really goes into depth about like their like religion, how they view the mad scientist as almost like a god. Anyways, I'll stop rambling about it, but I just really enjoyed it, and I think you should read it. It is a series. I do think that it kind of ends where you could just not read the rest of them. That's how my friend explained it to me, but I think there's 2 other books in the series. I might check those out, honestly, because I rated this one 5 stars, which I think it's my first ever sci-fi that I've rated 5 stars, which is kind of crazy. And I'm just gonna be using the Alamar Cosmetics bronzers, this is the face powder that I'm obsessed with in this palette, and then these two I kind of mix for a good color for bronzer. So yeah, so that's how I feel about that. I think it's great. I'll probably read the rest of the books and try not to basically the moral of the story is you may not think you love a genre, but just keep trying. Like if you're an animal lover, I think you would love this one. There's also like a romance subplot as well that's pretty interesting and sad. I did cry. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about this one nearly as long, Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar, because I talk about it a lot in a vlog that I have coming out soon. I don't know if this one will be up before or after the vlog, but it's like a reading vlog where I go into depth about like what I'm reading. I'm gonna be doing my highlighter with the Essence Pure Nude highlighter, which is clearly well loved, and my highlighter brush from Memoir. This one is very good. If you don't know the Duggars, you probably have been living under a rock, because I feel like they're pretty famous, infamous, whatever you want to call it. Do keep in mind that this book could be very triggering for some people, and I don't know that it necessarily has trigger warnings, because there's a lot of SA involved, and domestic violence, abuse, PTSD, a lot of stuff discussed. Not necessarily in graphic detail though, so don't be alarmed. It's not like super in-depth. Basically, it's a memoir. It's a really well-written memoir. The Duggars are a Christian fundamentalist family who abide by the teachings of the IBLP, which is a very harmful organization ran by Bill Gothard, who is kind of the worst, just to be honest. Not something I normally talk about on my YouTube, but I felt very validated by a lot of things that Jill talked about in her book. She still, like, she identifies as a Christian and she believes in God, which is how I feel as well, but she does talk about having to unlearn a lot of some of the harmful things that come along with like extreme teachings, and how the Bible can be interpreted in so many different ways by many different people. So she talked about how her family, obviously this is a very extreme version and not what I have personally gone through, but just like it felt very, very good to read, because I think like a lot of the time people think if they abide by all of the extremes of the religion that doesn't make them still a Christian and still believe in God, because there's a lot of fear-based things in the church that aren't necessarily biblical, especially like I mean in her case they're talking about like wearing skirts, and abstaining from like any physical intimacy at all, not drinking, like that kind of thing, the more like hardcore version. But yeah, I mean, I thought that it was really great and really sad. There's a lot of really sad discussions around like some of the things she went through, how she was really kind of robbed of having an actual childhood, because if you don't know, the Duggar family has like 20 children. I think it's 19 actually. So she missed out on a lot of opportunities of just being a child. This is one I wanted to read for a while. It just came out last year, and I know one of the other sisters has a book, but it talks about a lot of what she had to give up in order to obey her parents, and they were done really wrong, and especially because they weren't like paid properly for their work. It was essentially like unpaid labor to be on the show that they were on, the reality TV show on TLC. So I definitely recommend you read it if you're interested at all in the story. Like me, this is just me paraphrasing, and again, this book was gifted by my husband Hunter, who knew I wanted to read it. Yeah, it just, I think that it was really, really good. That's really all I have to say. And then the last book I want to talk about is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This book is one I didn't love so much. I really liked the concept of it, and I think that it was written very, very well. The author, you can tell, is very talented and is really good at telling a story, but it definitely is more pretentious. It's very Shakespearean. I'm a fan of Shakespeare. I have read a lot of British literature in my time. I love studying Brit-Lit in school. However, a lot of these characters are very insufferable, which from the author's note at the end, it does seem like that was her intention. So I think that makes sense. Like, she wanted it to be this like dramatic tale of kids going through a lot of crazy stuff. Like, essentially it's a dark academia mystery kind of novel. You're following a group of friends at this academy that's literally like a Shakespeare academy, and it's low-key kind of cultish, just to be honest. So it's interesting to read about that. Some of the teachers have some very extreme ways that they teach. And so you kind of see them start to unravel. Like, one of the friends in the friend group gets kind of aggressive, and kind of reacts wildly, and he ends up dead, and you're trying to figure out who did it and what happened, what the circumstances were, and you're following your main character, Oliver. One thing I think that could have been a little bit better about this book is I do feel like sometimes we were so focused on the dramatics of it all, and some of it is told in straight up like a play script, which I don't mind. Like, I really like multimedia in books and like stories being told uniquely, but I do think that emphasis on so much of that kind of took away from the personal like connection to the characters, which I felt like I was missing a little bit. It is very emotional and like it tells you a lot of things about the characters, but it was harder for me to like feel their emotions because of the perspective. I do think it also could have benefited from perspectives from some of the different characters, not just Oliver. But I can't really say a lot about the plot because I don't want to spoil anything, because there are some, like, it is a mystery, but I don't really think that's the main point, is the mystery aspect. I would consider it leaning more almost like general fiction. And last thing, I'm done now, but I just used my Essence Lash Princess Mascara, which is the bomb, and the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I'm also obsessed with this setting spray. I haven't had in a while. I just bought a refill recently. So yeah, finishing up my thoughts on this. It was good. I rated it higher than I would just based on the quality of the writing and how poetic and nice it is. Nice in the heartbreaking way, because it is definitely heartbreaking. It did make me very emotional, so when books make me feel things, I rate it higher. So these are the 3 books we discussed in today's video. Excellent sci-fi. If you like animals, if you like reading about different like technological advancements, like the kind of religious aspects of like what if animals were as intelligent as humans, and like empathy and things like that, and a little bit of space horror. Great memoir, lots of mental health themes, overcoming trauma, complex relationships with your parents. This one. Dark academia, Shakespeare, very emotional, friend group, mystery, whodunit. Very different vibes for all 3 of these. Alright guys, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I know it was a little bit different. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!